Evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family. Did you fail to dress up for tonight's show? No tie, an old shirt and slacks, a house dress? Well, don't give it a thought. We're glad you came as you are. We just want you to enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to visit our refreshment center during the intermission or any time. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. So will the youngsters. Everything is quality and so good. We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. Bring the family. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see, delightful snacks to nibble, a gay, pleasant evening for all. Oh, a word of caution. Don't drive over 10 miles an hour in the theater area for your safety's sake. And Mom or Pop, go with the kids when they leave the car. We hope you have a wonderful time. Come back soon. Wouldn't some hot buttered popcorn hit the spot right now? Extra fluffy, extra big kernels of it pop to perfection. Then drenched with the golden goodness of pure sweet creamery butter. Can't you just taste it? We heat the container extra high, but you better buy 2 more for the rest of the family. Piping hot, golden buttered popcorn at the refreshment center right now.
Confidential Files. A report by Paul Coates, one of the nation's distinguished news reporters, brings you a factual report on America today, its people and their lives.
There are about 60 million, that's 60 million comic books published every month in the United States.
But those figures are really quite misleading. In a minute you'll see why. Ask 10 kids where they got the comic book they're reading. Maybe 1 or 2 will tell you they bought it. The rest traded for theirs. They buy 1 book and they read 10. It's wonderful economics, but unfortunately it means that 10 times as many kids read books they never should even see. There are no economic or racial lines to the comic book threat. They reach every strata. Kids read them in the North and in the South. Stories like The Human Hyena. Stories like Time to Die. They read them in living rooms in Dubuque and alleys in Manhattan. They read them in tree houses. They read them tucked into their notebooks in classrooms. And at night they dream about them. When I was a boy and played with the gang, we did a lot of things. We roasted potatoes and went on expeditions. We tipped over garbage cans now and then. We wrote nasty remarks about the teacher on the sidewalk. But we never spent an afternoon sitting around like this, reading. What a wonderful thing this would be if they were reading something worthwhile, something that would stimulate their desires to build and to grow. But they're not reading anything constructive. They're reading stories devoted to adultery, to sexual perversion, to horror, to the most despicable of crimes. The corpse that came to dinner. This one's a poem. I think you should hear it. The draining rain sprays the pane tenderly. The whistling wind winds round the weeds tenderly. And I come to you with arms out wide and one thought inside of me. So I take your lips, I take your heart tenderly. Horror and crime comics upset kids. I'm not talking about any subtle distortion of their emotional makeup. I think that occurs too. But there's a more noticeable, immediate effect. You can see the tension develop as the story gets more gruesome. And if it's a bad one, the kid has a mass of jangled nerves by the time he's through it. guy, he wasn't going to hit you. He just wanted to know what it would feel like to almost knock someone's brains out. This story is about a man who dissolves his own brother in a bathtub full of acid. 10 cents at your neighborhood newsstand. But it looks like I was wrong. They're not going to read all afternoon after all. They've got a great idea for a game. Everybody can play. In this kind of a game, the more the merrier. Even the little guys are invited. My gang used to huddle too. We tried to figure out how we could build a raft to use on the river, or how to earn money for a wiener roast, or how to talk the grocer into buying uniforms for a baseball team. We usually figured it out too. Kids aren't always too realistic, but they're mighty ingenious, as you're about to see. They'll need a little special equipment for the game they're going to play. And they need one more man, preferably a small man. They promise him he'll be the star of the game, and they're telling the truth. They're also telling the truth when they say it's the most exciting game he's ever played. And this is the beginning of a game of violence. They didn't think it up all by themselves, of course. They had an excellent manual, a regular do-it-yourself pamphlet, a crime and horror comic book. And they learned their lesson well. I'm not suggesting that comic books instilled violence in the minds of these boys. I've never heard any responsible person suggest that. What I am suggesting is that crime and horror comic books stimulate outbursts of destructive violence that might otherwise have been channeled into much less antisocial activity.
Still there. Okay.
And remember, these are not the faces of an isolated group of kids. These are not delinquents, not criminals. These are the faces of your sons. These boys are playing, and yet they're not playing. Games like this have ended in death many times. Usually, of course, there's no apparent damage. But I think there is damage, deep, serious damage. Quite a repertoire of torture techniques? Why not? They've spent literally hundreds of hours studying the texts. This, for instance, is an ancient Chinese method, as any confirmed comic book fan can tell you. Men are getting rich off the comic books that teach kids this kind of activity. I don't know how you like it, but it makes me kind of sick.
Hey, kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Now remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet. Otherwise, we will be forced to evict all disturbance makers from the theater. Those asked to leave today will be refused admission to this theater in the future. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everybody, and welcome to the monthly live stream is back. Hooray! Took long enough, Cory. But we're here tonight to talk about EC Comics. Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, Vault of Terror. Got the right order, right? Hold on a sec. You think I would know. Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror, Weird Science, Weird Fantasy. Haven't got around to the crime comics yet, though, so no Crime Patrol or whatever. But, yeah, talk about EC Comics and Mad Magazine, of course, hence the sidebar right here as well, is also an EC comic. And, yeah, just chit-chatting about them. And this is a case where I cannot proclaim to be an expert of any particular kind. I'm just somebody who's been slowly going through all of the EC archives from Dark Horse Comics here, just slowly working my way through them. And so this is just as a fan's appreciation of what I've been reading and chit-chatting with the chat room here, that sort of thing. I see a lot of unfamiliar faces, so welcome to the live stream. I do a different themed live stream every month. This month's theme is EC Comics. And as per usual, I think I have like super chats and stuff turned on, but it's not at all contingent. Like me responding with the chat is not at all contingent on paying me anything. I am in this to engage with the chat and to chat with the chat room, stuff like that. So there we go. And a question was already asked in the chat while that video was playing, which I enjoy. It was actually an excerpt from a TV program that I sort of reworked as like a drive-in theater thing, on the dangers of these comics that kids these days are reading. And my favorite part is where the dude actually says, like, back in my day, we just messed around and got in trouble, but now kids these days are reading these comics. It's like, well, okay, it's the same, like, you know, juvenile crime went down with video games. Even though I was worried, oh, video games are training kids to be murderers. It's like, actually, juvenile crime went down because the kids were all inside playing video games. So, same sort of thing. But the captain asked way back at the beginning, do I like comics? Yes, but I don't collect comics for the sake of collecting comics. Kind of the same thing actually with video games. I've already made the analogy. I'm not like a gamer. I don't identify as a gamer. I like specific games. So like right now, I do my dailies on Star Trek Online. But I also, you know, I play Red Dead Online. Red Dead Redemption 2 was the reason I bought an Xbox One. Red Dead Redemption 1 is the reason I bought an Xbox 360. So it's like specific games that I like. Same thing with this, like comics. It's specific comics, specific properties, that sort of thing. So right now, for me, like EC Comics is one of the big ones that I'm reading, as well. I started getting into some more like the Golden Age comics as well, like Golden Age Superman, Golden Age Batman, that kind of thing. But for most part, when it comes to comics right now, what I'm reading are the EC comics, which are fantastic, and I love them. And I know, Captain, you also made the comment there, I love EC comics, but they're not for kids and shouldn't have been marketed to them. I can see that argument. I think it's hard to get in the mindset of kids back then, because, I mean, today, the EC comic stuff is tame. Like, Tales from the Crypt, I would have no problem with a kid reading Tales from the Crypt today. Because what's actually in movies and TV shows today is so much more graphic. Now, I would not let a kid watch the Tales from the Crypt TV show, like the HBO show, which we can also talk about tonight. Like, that one, it was like, it was HBO, it's cable, back when cable was a thing, and so they really took the sex and violence for a joyride in the Tales from the Crypt TV show. So yeah, I wouldn't let a kid watch that. But the Tales from the Crypt comics, weird science, weird fantasy, the three Ghoul Lunatics comics, Shock Suspense Stories, I would have no problem letting a kid read those today. Same thing, like I would have like no problem with a kid watching Universal monster movies. You know, like watch the original Dracula and Frankenstein and Wolfman and Bride of Frankenstein and Creature from the Black Lagoon and stuff. No problem. There's way more graphic stuff on TV now than those things. Those things are practically Disney movies at this point. So, yeah. But at the time, though, that's the question, right? Like, at the time, EC Comics were revolutionary. And with being revolutionary comes the public suspicion and whatnot. But again, like this video, it like it plays its hand there, where he's like, he admits that when he was a kid, he was going around getting in trouble, and now kids are just reading these comic books. Oh no! So it's kind of a poor argument they were making there. But getting caught up, yeah, this generation of kids are drafted and forced to serve Vietnam. High expose. Hello, Bride of Monster Kid. Mad Magazine started as a comic. Yes, it did. kind of talk about Edgar Rice Burroughs and the pulp magazines. Maybe we'll hold on that for a little bit because we want to at least begin with EC Comics. I mean, a lot of these live streams begin with a topic and then go drifting off into whatever. But on the other hand, we got Columbine. Yeah, but Columbine is a whole other issue, and Columbine every week now, it seems. Yeah, well, I mean, school shootings in the United States are another whole other issue, I think. And yes, Expose, you do try to get on every Monster Kid Cory live stream, and I thank you very much for that as well. I don't even follow modern comics, let alone vintage comics. Yeah, well, I don't read modern stuff to speak of. I pick up a few things now and then, but there was, there's the King Kong comics, King Kong: The Great War, as a comic that came out. But I flipped through an issue and it was like 3 pages of content spread across 20 pages. I'm like, no, and I'll wait for the trade paperback. I've heard good things about Skybound's called Energon Universe, but it's their G.I. Joe and Transformer comics. I've heard good things about those, actually. So, might try and like pick up a trade paperback or something. See what it's like. But EC is a story of censorship triumphing over creativity. Yeah. And not just censorship triumphing over creativity, but the victory of using censorship as a tool to get rid of competition. Which is really at the heart of it, right? Is that censorship is an industry. And in fact, I even beaked off at somebody about this on Facebook the other day about the banned book industry is something, and it all has ulterior motives. All of it does, including the censorship of EC Comics. All had ulterior motives as well. Favorite comic is Peanuts, which is fine. I like Charlie Brown and Snoopy. Favorite EC comic of all time? You know, there is a weird effect where, because I'm reading like just these trade paperbacks of like one after another that they all kind of blend together after a while. And it's actually, I'm a little hard pressed to be able to pick out like a favorite one. My favorite ones are whichever one I'm reading right now. So, I think it's The Haunt of Fear. So The Haunt of Fear is the Old Witch as the guide. Let me just check here. Okay, yeah. Haunt of Fear is the Old Witch. The Vault of Horror is the Vault Keeper, obviously, Cory. I've actually kind of been liking the Vault of Horror because it's I don't know if it's the character or the tone of the stories or something, even though they're all practically interchangeable between the 3 comics. I kind of enjoyed the Vault of Horror. I love Weird Science. Weird Science is so good. It might just be like my mood at present of or just the fact that I've always been a nerd and always liked science fiction. Even before I got into horror, I was into science fiction. So Weird Science might be scratching that itch, as it were. So I've really liked Weird Science so far as well. I've read like all 3 volumes of that, and next I'm on to... Sorry, I keep them down here. So, next I want to read the Weird Fantasy. Get through those. And then, Tales from the Crypt is Tales from the Crypt. So, it's awesome. But then, like, all 3 of the horror comics are a little bit interchangeable, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say, and especially when you read them all and like just go through 3 volumes of trade paperbacks. It's like, I don't remember which one's my favorite. But definitely Weird Science. And I remember really enjoying like the Vault of Horror. So I was going through it. Sometimes censorship is necessary, like if you're drawing CP or something. Well, yes. Here's my thing. my views on censorship. I do think that there is age appropriateness, which is something that we were kind of talking about before there, right? Like, should kids have ever been allowed to read EC Comics? Is it age appropriate? I do think there is age appropriateness, and that is a different thing from banning. but people like to use the word ban as something politically charged. And I think I mean, what your example there, Captain, is a clear case where the production of the thing causes harm, and it is a criminal act. The production of the thing itself is a criminal act, and therefore it should be illegal to have that at all. Period. Um, so like that's a slightly different issue from like um, banning things for hate speech or just it's inappropriate, it's impolitic, it's whatever. Um, uh, Versus like the production of the thing causes harm. There's no value in the thing itself. What have you. Comics Code bans zombies, vampires, werewolves, ghouls, witches, subject matter of almost all DC comics. And I mean the Comics Code specifically, when that came into effect, also banned all the words in the titles of EC Comics. So you couldn't have the word fear, you couldn't have the word horror, you couldn't have the word terror, you couldn't have the word weird in your comic book titles. Like on the cover of the comic. It's like that's EC's entire run. Which is why I was saying that censorship being used as a political tool, that pretense of moralism being used as a political tool, is that these other companies, more established mainstream comic companies, used the Comics Code authority to specifically squash EC Comics, to get rid of this popular competition, which is always the underpinning to it, right? Of the censorship industry, the book banning industry, and so on, is using that veneer of moralism to achieve some ulterior motive. You would be surprised how many people will argue censorship or that kind of stuff is banning it. It turned me around the issue of censorship. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's... well, we see a lot of that today, right? That and both sides do it. Like, this is a nonpartisan issue in the sense of, like, both the left and the right have different things they want to ban, but they want them banned. They're both pro-censorship. It's just, they use the language of free speech to disguise that really it's not principled at all. It's just that you want people reading your stuff and not their stuff. So, you think it's good that kids should have access to controversial book A, and the other side doesn't think that. And the other side thinks that they want kids to read controversial book B, and you don't. Like, that's all that is. If we're getting political about it. But didn't Wortham also say Batman and Robin were gay? I don't know if he said that specifically, but I know that did come up. The idea that this inappropriate relationship between Batman and Robin, not helped a whole lot by, like that one panel where they're both in bed together. But I think that was just like a weird choice as like, how do you get these two characters, like, how do you quickly establish these two characters were asleep and they got out of bed? Is you put them in the same frame. I think that was just an artistic problem. That wasn't like actually meant to be anything. But I used to be anti-censorship because of my love EC and video nasties. Yeah. But it made me realize some things have no place in society. Batman and Robin are pretty ghastly. No judgments. It's just hard not to read those comments and think they're not dating. Well, I mean, I don't think there was anything intended to be inappropriate in the relationship between Batman and Robin. Yeah, like, I agree that there's age appropriateness, right? I'm not going to say here what I think is and is not age appropriate in the current political discourse, but I do think there is age appropriateness, and because there's like mature themes and ideas that, like, I might want to explore in fiction, see explored in fiction, that I can handle at an adult level that a kid can't. A kid shouldn't be exposed to something like that. So it's like, yeah, I want stuff to be available for people at appropriate age levels, right? and not everything is and should be, nor does it have to be, right? Well, Robin was flying the rainbow colors before anyone else. There is age appropriate, which is child appropriate. I watched Pet Sematary at 10. I regret it to this day. I was not old enough. Darn birthday parties. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I would show a kid Frankenstein. I would not show a kid Nightmare on Elm Street. Because again, Frankenstein is like as tame as a Disney movie nowadays. Whereas, like, yeah, watching people being dismembered is not age appropriate. Gotta be honest, I'm way more into classic literature, like the Divine Comedy by Dante or Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and not comic books. And that is totally fine. That is totally fine. I also do read. I am capable of reading. um, I am more visual spatial person, so I don't do a whole lot of recreational reading. Comic books are pretty easy because it has that visual spatial dimension to it. I read at a glacial pace, not because I can't, but just because when I read, like full text, like not comics, but like read books, my mind does not easily translate that into imagery. So my mind isn't exploding with far-off vistas of whatever. I'm reading words on a page. And that is not overly mentally stimulating. So I can't sit and read for a long time. So when I do read, and I've written books, I've edited books. I have like four anthologies of Victorian science fiction available on Amazon, and the book that I wrote on Amazon. So I'm not illiterate, but reading doesn't come as easily to me as visual spatial, because I'm a visual spatial learner. So I like movies, I like comics, I like visual stuff. Not again, and nonfiction, no problem, because I don't have to visualize it. Like the book that I wrote is nonfiction, and the research for that was like well over like 375 whatever scientific articles and textbooks and reports and whatever. But that's all nonfiction, so that was no problem. It's all just data that I'm reading, right? Whereas like if I sit down and read, like my favorite author is Jules Verne. My second favorite author is Mark Twain. My favorite single book is The Lost World by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So I do enjoy fiction. And again, 4 anthologies of Victorian science fiction. It's just, yeah, I have a hard time. It doesn't process into imagery in my head. It just processes into words in my head. So it's not quite as, like, just escapist enjoyable as watching a movie or whatever it is. That's my long-winded excuse to justify talking about comics instead of high-minded things like the Divine Comedy, which I have read. So, I also claim Wonder Woman was a lesbian. Well, now she is. You look at some of the earlier Wonder Woman and you notice a lot of weird stuff. Wonder Woman getting tied up in almost every issue. Yeah, well, that's, I think somebody who mentioned that the guy who invented Wonder Woman was into that stuff. So, it's smart not to get political because it might make people mad. Being open about your religion, politics, and personal private life only makes for problems. Yeah. I think any astute person watching my videos can figure out where my sort of political and religious leanings go, but I try not to like push it in here because that's not what people are here for, and I don't believe that just because I have a platform I need to abuse it. I do have a standpoint I talk from, but I try not to push my religion or my politics on people. That's not what you're here for. We get enough of that everywhere else. I know because I openly talk about my views on these things all the time. Yeah, that's what Facebook debates are for. Frankenstein's awesome. Everyone should watch that movie. Yes. Expose, these days I'm more into the Bible. Well, I do read that on a regular basis. Also, on my birthday, October is in 10 days. It's the death day of Edgar Allan Poe. Well, happy birthday, Expose. There was Bondage the earliest as a Wonder Woman. Yeah, I'm going to say October 7th. Oh, yeah, that's Day of Infamy there. October 7th for your birthday. Nice. Garrett Wonder Woman was ill-playing to BDSM. Yeah. No judgments here, baby. Yes. Yeah. There's an interesting story behind Wonder Woman and her invention, which they literally made a movie about. So, starring Luke Evans as the guy who invented Wonder Woman. William Moulton Marston, yeah. Hello, Corthosaurus. Hey, Rex. Sorry I'm late. What's your opinion on Connecticut Yankee King Arthur's Court? My opinion on Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court is that it is a good example of Mark Twain's own unexamined biases. So, of course, it's his whole takedown of the monarchy and chivalrous literature and all that sort of stuff. But he then replaces it with this like American mercantilism, which itself has a lot of problems. And one could argue that he addresses that tacitly when, especially at the end, right, where there's this like military apocalypse, that, he does critique industrialization in there as well. And, one make of what one will with the sort of ridiculous figure of a knight with a billboard on him, sponsorship billboard. But I don't find that it's not as full-bodied a roasting of industrialization and mercantilism as it is a full-bodied roasting of medievalism and the monarchy and things like that. So that's my opinion on Connecticut Yankee. Not all of my opinion, but that's my short form. Rex says, "IM expose has how your vampire squid activity is going." I feel like I'm reading a lot now. Nice. Well, now we got into literature versus comics. And one thing that I am amused by in EC Comics is how much of it is plagiarized from literature. Because William Gaines, he got these like springboards. He would go home at night, he would read a whole bunch of stuff, he would come out with these springboards, which are just plagiarized ideas from these books that he had read. And they would reformat those in EC Comics style. And so going through like EC Comics, it's like, I know that story, oh, that's that, that's this, and so on. He even did one that is like such an on-the-nose copy of King Kong that the characters mention it, which is like, okay, like, sure. And then, of course, he got in trouble with that one time when Ray Bradbury noticed that, hey, that's my story, and wrote a gentle letter saying, your check appears to have gotten lost in the mail. When can I expect that? And they ended up working out a deal where he like let them adapt his stories. So that worked out nicely. But I also appreciate, though, that in the EC Comics, there are reading lists. Like in the horror comics, they do have reading lists of like telling kids, go read Edgar Allan Poe, go read J. Sheridan Le Fanu, go read Mary Shelley, all sort of stuff. To I don't know if how much of that was like a sincere like, kids, go read real literature, and how much of that was, no, see, we're good, we're educational, we're telling kids to read books. So get off our backs, everyone. I'm probably a little bit column A, little column B, I'm sure. Wonder Woman belonged to a race of ancient Amazons, but they provided her with a plane to travel, which she knew how to pilot. Yes. Don't think too deeply about that. I just think Connecticut Yankee is funny. I forgot there were politics in Mark Twain. Mark Twain talks about everything. He touches on everything. One of my favorite episodes in any Twain novel is in Adventures of Tom Sawyer, where they're all in church, and the dog walks in, and he's like starts trying to like, he's like itching and scratching at this like flea or something, and everyone's watching this and trying not to burst out laughing, stuff like that. Which is like, oh my god, this is exactly what a church is like. Like this is a dead-on impression of church. So, yeah, like Twain, he varies from gentle, like in Tom Sawyer, to like really serious like meditations on society and stuff like that. Letters from the Earth, for example, is a good one of his satirical but nonetheless, serious look at human society and stuff like that. But I also think Twain is a bit of a sad figure in a way, because what made him such an effective satirist is that he had such this intense gaze on the failings of human beings. So everywhere he looked, he saw people acting stupid, and his satire is all pointing that out and pointing out how people act stupid. And I think that had a toll on his soul as well. That it's really hard to find glimmers of anything like joy or sincerity or sort of spiritual fulfillment or anything like that in Twain. He's too busy poking at everyone and just like, everyone is stupid, everyone sucks, and that's what his work is about. Which may be a little bit unfair. I'm sure he did, and he does write positive things, but and he does have a blind spot to his own biases, which I've noticed. That he doesn't turn that same gaze back on himself very well, but he's not a very happy person. So my counterpoint is G.K. Chesterton, who also has a lot to say about society. But G.K. Chesterton, as a humorist as well, he's also a humorist. But he comes at it from a position of a very deep and fulfilling Catholic faith. And so there is more of a sense of joie de vivre in G.K. Chesterton's writings than there is in Mark Twain's. And I compare them because they were contemporaries. More or less, actually. Chesterton came in a bit after Twain, but they did have an overlapping period. So, like, Chesterton points out at the stupid stuff of society, but he does it with more of a sense of, like, of someone who has found a solution to that, which in his case is a Catholic faith. And so even his poking at it has a bit more gentility to it. Not that he's pulling the punches, but just sort of like, he's more generous, has a more generous spirit in doing it than Twain, who is much more embittered, I would say. But that's also what makes Twain so, like, hysterically funny as well, is that he doesn't pull punches either. Like, Chesterton is funny. Twain is, like, just laugh out loud. Like, yeah. Anyways. So. Let's see, where were we here? Everyone back then was copying O. Henry. Everyone technically ripped off the Epic of Gilgamesh, which I have read and is awesome. There are only, I have said this before, I will say this again. I'm trolling a bit, but in the Western tradition, there are only two books. There's the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Bible. Everything else is commentary. Everything else is a variation on those two books. So, I once told my teacher that I think comics are better than books because they can focus less on describing what's happening and more on story and characters. She said my brain's the size of a walnut. Which, also, well, I mean, you are a dinosaur, Rex. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a commentary that I saw once in reference to, do we really want science fiction to become literature? Because when it's literature, then every sentence must dapple like the sun on the toes of an orangutan in the Amazon, or something like that. As opposed to just like, get to the point already. Get to the space battles, right? So, different kinds of fiction do different things, and yeah, with the comics, you get to avoid having to do a lot of that description because you can see it, right? Show don't tell. Curiosity: is there a Twain novel with dinosaurs? Oh God, he has to have written about dinosaurs at one point or another in some short story, probably. But no sustained work of literature based around dinosaurs, no. EC did the same thing pulp magazines were doing a few decades before. Lurid, shocking fiction. Yeah, definitely. In fact, one of the direct influences on EC Comics was radio shows. like Inner Sanctum Mysteries and things like that, where you had like that host that introduced it on the radio and turn out the lights and prepare for this next tale of murder. And on it goes, right? War of the Worlds type stuff, but with narrators. So like, yeah, I mean, that was, EC Comics comes from a tradition of sort of lurid fiction that already existed in pulps and in radio and things like that. Absolutely. Technically, Epic Gilgamesh is a ripoff of oral storytelling. Well, yes. Twain might be depressing, but the claymation movie with Satan is really funny. I love that movie. The Adventures of... Okay, the things that got me into Mark Twain, because, like, you know, I'm a Canadian goth, whatever. What do I have to do with Mark Twain? The Adventures of Mark Twain movie and Disneyland were the things that got me into Mark Twain. So, the Adventures of Mark Twain movie got me into it because, you know, sort of my order of things, right? It's into science fiction. Then I got into sort of like horror and goth. But I still love science fiction. And sort of the meeting point of goth and science fiction was with what now is called steampunk, like Victorian science fiction, right? So you get the Victorian style, but you get science fiction done in that Victorian style, which overlaps with the goth stuff. So, you know, Adventures of Mark Twain, it's like this spacefaring steamboat, Zeppelin thing. And so that movie was really compelling. And it's such a beautiful movie. Like, The Adventures of Mark Twain is like this stunning, profound, sensitive movie about life and love and loss and death and like all of these like weighty themes, right? Okay, great. Good. Then I also went to Disneyland. Because Victorian science fiction stuff is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and the goth stuff, so like the Disney villains and the Haunted Mansion and things like that. I go to Disneyland, and I love the Mark Twain riverboat. It's actually the only attraction poster I have in my home. The Mark Twain riverboat, the Rivers of America, and Tom Sawyer Island. And that got me interested in, like, okay, what are the actual literary roots of this? So how does this hew to the source material? And those things together got me to read Mark Twain, who is now my second favorite author, my favorite American author, at least. And I am interested in visiting his hometown as well. So Hannibal, Missouri is on my list of places to go as well. I'm practicing Catholic, but for some reason I drew a priest in a mess. Okay, that's a choice. Gilgamesh influenced a lot of worldwide mythology. Twain used the N-word in every other sentence. A lot of his books are banned today. Yeah. Well, I mean, Huck Finn, right? Like, you can't avoid... like, that was the name of one of the characters. But I think it rather misses the point to fixate on the word and not Twain's obvious position on the subject of, like, slavery and stuff like that. That's no good. Next will be banning... yeah. That's true, but how many dinosaurs can write 40 pages on the oxymoron of Philly cheesesteaks? True. Ironically, a lot of his writing was anti-slavery. Yeah. Huck Finn should have discovered dinosaurs in one of his adventures. Yeah. Well, there is Tom Sawyer Abroad, where they get kidnapped and taken away on an airship. Wasn't Twain an atheist? Correct, yes. He wrote a story with Satan in it, though, yes. The Mysterious Stranger is one with Satan. Also, I mean, Letters from the Earth is also kind of that. In Letters from the Earth, it harkens back to sort of the more... the image of Satan changes over the course of the Bible. If you line up the books by order of when they were written, the oldest one is Job, and the youngest one is Revelation. And so, in Job, you get this portrait of Satan as sort of like a prosecuting attorney. In fact, Satan in Hebrew means the adversary. So he's sort of like a prosecuting attorney. And so he got on to making this bet over Job. Whereas then by the end, Revelation, Satan is like this nearly all-powerful anti-God sort of figure. Nearly, not actually. He's not anti-God. Like, he's not an anti-God. He's a fallen angel, but he's very powerful. He's not that like prosecuting attorney role anymore. He's like the cause of evil kind of thing. So Twain harkens back to that older view of Satan as prosecuting attorney. And so Letters from the Earth, the framing device is Satan has come down to Earth and he's writing letters back to heaven about what Earth is like. And it's how Twain sort of pokes and prods at different pretensions of society. Is The Adventures of Mark Twain as good as Looney Tunes? Better. I think he showed up in EC Comics as well, several times, probably. This stream is just becoming a Mark Twain live stream. It is. You guys have got me off the actual subject. Most people don't know this, but in the Bible, Satan works for God. He's basically God's enforcer. Yeah, that's the older view, yeah. I got into Mark Twain was because I ran out of Tarzan audiobooks and YouTube recommends because I Yankee. Sure. Also, like 2 hours. Also like 2 hours from where I live, there's a place where Mark Twain lived for a while. Oh yeah, cool. Well, he did make a bet with God that he could make Job lose his faith. Yeah. Well, Job is more complicated than that, but yeah. Mark Twain never lived in my state, but F. Scott Fitzgerald was born in the state I live in. Cool. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Lucifer's only crime was point out nepotism in the workplace. well, if you want to read a good book about Satan, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, I think is actually one of the best for explaining what Satan's problem is. Yeah, that would be my recommendation for that subject matter. But sometimes I pray for things to go my way, and if it doesn't go my way, I just remember Job. You know. I find it funny how he went from comics to Mark Twain to Satan. Well, you know, they did say that EC Comics were the tool of Satan, right? So corrupting the youth of today to get them all sitting down and reading comics instead of going around and getting in trouble. Ugh. Which is also, I mean, that was never lost on me either as a nerdy kid as well, because with being a nerd comes the whole, like, you're evil, right? You're suspicious. There's something sus about you because you aren't doing what everybody else does. And the things you like are weird, and we don't like those things. Why can't you be into sports and stuff like normal kids? You must be into something suspicious. When it's like, dude, I'm just sitting here reading comics and watching Star Trek. Get off my back. It's, you know, I'm not getting drunk and doing drugs and sleeping around and vandalizing stuff and all the stuff the cool, you know, the good kids were doing. I was just sitting at home reading comics and watching sci-fi movies and stuff. So, it's a double standard. You can do whatever you want as long as you are mainstream. You know, you can have a country song about murder, and that's okay. But if you have a goth song about vampires, that's evil. Because it's weird, it's different, and that's the problem. It's not about good and evil, it's about weird and normal. Now can we talk about Dante's Inferno? Yes. Say it's based on Hades from Greek mythology. Not exactly. Hades certainly helped shape some later ideas about Satan. But Satan himself is not based on Hades, no. Paradise Lost. Also, my junior English teacher was related to Fitzgerald. Cool. Sometimes when my life gets hard, I remember I'm a T-Rex and I can eat all those who disagree with me as long as I have an EpiPen. Thanks. What do you want to talk about Dante's Inferno? Dante's Inferno is absolutely incredible. I think it is, well, the whole Divine Comedy is insane for how meticulous it is. So incredibly, just everything from the theology, the incredible conceptualization, its entire commentary on the nature of sin and sacrifice and fear and courage and love, and all the way down to its rhyming scheme. This entire epic poem, the entire Divine Comedy, is done in like ABA, BCB, CDC. Like, that's the entire rhyming scheme for the entire thing in Italian. It's crazy. How he managed to pull that off, I think you can make a very good case that Dante was divinely inspired. What if they live in the bottom of the ocean like me? Maybe. But so how about those comic books then? Jeez. I had a feeling tonight might go awry because my live streams always do. A satanic figure who reigns in the underworld is a trope that appears in many ancient myths. Yes, that is true. But keeping in mind that Satan originally did not live underground. That's the thing, right? Satan originally, as I said, in the earliest conceptions. So, again, if you line up all the books of the Bible by when they were written, Job is the oldest. And Satan doesn't live in the underworld. Satan lives in heaven. Satan is a prosecuting attorney. His role is to be um, to how do I word this? His role is to present the worst case scenario, right? Job only worships you because you keep him happy, fat and happy. And so if you take all that stuff away from him, and I guarantee you, Job will turn from you. That's Satan. That's Satan's role. Now you can argue later on, when the Jews were exposed to Hellenistic thought, when like the Macedonians came, stuff like that. Then you had that influence, that Greek influence come in, helping to reshape the image of Satan from prosecuting attorney to Lord of the Underworld. But that wasn't originally what Satan was. And one has to be careful reading too much European mythology into Middle Eastern cultures, right? You see a lot of this, like, oh, Jesus is just plagiarism of this, that, other thing from Europe. It's like, no, Jesus was a Jew. The sort of Semitic worldviews were different from European worldviews. And it's important to maintain that distinction, or else you're not really going to understand it. That you can say that Satan, the image of Satan, got influenced by Hellenistic thought later on, but that's not how Satan begins in the oldest books in the Bible. As for the SuspenStories friends, besides I enjoy your channel too much. Thanks. As far as live streams can change topics with snap of a finger. Yeah. Yes, they do. So, in theory, this is an EC Comics live stream. Right now, it's me teaching theology, apparently. Which, in case anybody's wondering, that's actually what my graduate degree is in. So, how does he know so much about this stuff? Why is he going off about this? This is what my graduate degree is actually in. Have you ever read the unbelievable Gwenpool? She's tied with Captain America for my favorite comic hero. I have not read Gwenpool. I lost everything in my life. Does that mean God is testing me? No. Are we really going to talk about theology of Job tonight? Job is a fascinating book. It is the oldest book of the Bible. Not that like other parts, like like the stories in Genesis and stuff like that, do come from older oral traditions. But Job is the oldest book of the Bible. And I find it fascinating because Job is also one of the most interestingly nuanced and complex books of the Bible. And it deals with some of the most profound questions in the Bible. And it's the oldest book. So it's like right from the beginning, like people are thinking about this stuff. Why does evil exist? Why do bad things happen to good people? Stuff like that. And it's not just, oh, God's testing you in a bet. That's the wrong message to take from Job. Job is a dissection about how God does not follow human rules. So at every step of this book, people are making assumptions about what God's rules are. So Job has a certain conception of what God is. Job's friends do. So when all this shit starts happening to Job, they're like, dude, you must have done something wrong because God wouldn't cause this to happen. You must have broken the rules somehow. And Job was like, no, I didn't break the rules. Bad things are happening to me. I'm a good person, but bad things are happening to me. What the hell? Job's friends are like, no, you must have done something bad. Job's wife has her rules. Well, if God's not going to shower you with good things, if God's going to let bad things happen to you, you should forsake God. And Job's like, no, I'm not going to do that either. Are you crazy? Everyone's got these rules. And then eventually Job has this breakdown. He's like, God, seriously, what the hell? Like, come on, man. And God's response is to not respond. God's response is to say, dude, who do you think you are? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you when I created the oceans and their boundaries? Where were you when I created the Leviathan and put a ring in its nose and yada, yada, yada? He overpowers Job with his own sublime majesty as if to say, like, you can't understand me. I don't follow your rules. I don't follow human rules and human concepts. I am beyond your human rules and concepts. And that is actually healing to Job. That Job hears all this, and his response is, oh my, you're right, dude. What the hell was I thinking? You don't follow rules. You are God. You're not smaller than me, you're bigger than me. And that reconciles Job and God. When Job recognizes God's sublime majesty, and that God is not easily sort of captured in human rules, then that reconciles Job and God. Which I find fascinating. I think that's a fascinating message in there. That you can only approach God on God's own terms. And you can't approach God through human dogmas and rules and philosophies and ideas and things like that. God's way bigger than all of that. Anyways. So, yay, there we go. I got to use my master's degree. Those little comics on the left side of the screen are now scared of Satan himself. No, they're scared of me. I am not technically allowed to talk about religion because my family has enough written history back to the birth of life that every church and government is kept secret. Not meant to send that. Well, I'm getting sent back to the big did I do that? Thank you for your thoughts on Job. I found that healing to hear. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's, I also find it a very healing book as well. To approach things as they are instead of how you want them to be, right? Which is also a Buddhist concept as well. That's like the Four Noble Truths right there in a nutshell. So, I have mixed feelings when it comes to religion. I was raised Catholic, of course. Catholicism's been around since the dinosaurs, but never really bought it that and didn't help my preschool said dinosaurs weren't real, which is weird considering who I am. Yeah. That is weird, especially considering that, like, Catholicism is fine with science. In fact, you can read it in right in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's like 3 of the articles in there are like, here's how you're supposed to think about science. And it's not like science is bad. It's like science is good, and science has limits. That's what the Catholic Church says. So when I, in my past life as a educator, I still do, I mean, tour guide and stuff like that, but my past life as an educator, school programs educator, I get these schools come in, I'm teaching them about rocks and stuff, and I would get theological questions from the children. And the ones that I was the least awkward about answering were the Catholic schools, because I knew exactly what the Catholic Church teaches. It's right in the Catechism. So it's like, no problem. But like public schools or like evangelical Christian schools or Muslim schools were always like, I don't know if I want to answer this. I wish dinosaurs weren't real, but they are. One lives under my bed and she comes out and scares me at night. Well, I mean, dinosaurs are still around, right? Burbs. Burbs are the only living group of dinosaurs. So there you go. And there is one, to bring this back around to the actual topic, one of the more memorable stories that I remember is, I think it's in Weird Science, where there's this like super cheap house and this couple, they rent it out and everything looks pleasant and whatnot. They get in the house and it's like, sounds like it's raining outside and there's like these blood curdling screams and stuff outside, and they go back out the front door and there's like, it's like a perfectly sunny day. And then against the landlord's advice, they go out the back door and it leads into like the Mesozoic era. There's like dinosaurs and everything. And come back in and go out the front door again, and they're back in like the 20th century. And you find like the house is this time travel device So one door leads to the 20th century, other door leads to the Mesozoic era. But then they mess it up. They mess up the whole system, but which door you're supposed to go in and out of. So, that was one of the more memorable stories, as I recall. Dude, I'm right here. It's not just birds. Sorry, Rex. Yes. Yes. Do you remember the weird science story about the cute monkey things that beat people to death? That terrified me. Cute monkey things that beat people to death. God, you'd have to narrow that down for me. If you can remember, like, a title or an issue or something, I could probably find it, because it's not springing to mind right now. I guess the problem when you, like, read all this in rapid succession, right? It's like being asked your favorite episode of a TV show when you watch, like, an entire disc at one time. We all gotta pay the bill somehow, don't blame I had a tape as a kid that had a story that explained that she is scared of things, but it isn't a dino, but a branch scratching on the rut. Wait, Rex Evans, how can you type? He's probably got like little sticks. You can use that on the board, right? The keyboard. It's like the reach things. He's got like those little those claw, like extended claw things. So you can reach things. He's unstoppable. The cute monkey things are bred as pets and overpopulate the planet, so when they realize they beat people to death when in larger groups it's too late. Huh. I don't remember that one offhand. I don't want to sit here and just kind of start flipping through issues until I find it, but obviously it didn't leave that big of an impression. Or, I mean, I might not have got to that issue yet, either. Because I've got, Weird Science. I've got the first 3 volumes. There's Weird Science right there. But there's still, I think, 2 more volumes to come out of that one. Let me double check, because I wrote down all of the volumes that have come out, are due to come out. Yeah, okay, Weird Science has 1 more volume coming out. Volume 4 is due out, or is out already. I have Santa Claus taped to my hands. Yeah, there we go. Might have been Weird Fantasy. Okay, yeah, I haven't got to Weird Fantasy yet. So, that's sort of next on the list. Next in order on my bookshelf. I was scared of everything as a kid. That's why I watch and read true crime stories. Can't expect worse than those. Yeah. And by my tentacle arms. Scariest shock suspense stories about the leper colony. I haven't got to shock suspense stories either. So I have to get to those. I expect I'm going to like them as well, because they're supposed to be like the topical stories as well. But hey, Rex, you may be a dino, but I'm a bunny rabbit. I bet you didn't know that. I'm going to just check and see if I can find which issue that monkey story is in. Weird Science, monkeys who kill everyone. No, this is going to be impossible to search for that. Never mind. Guess I'll come across it when I come across it. Hey, Rex, you may be a dino, but I'm a bunny rabbit if you know that. Okay. Get up there. Yeah, what do I got here? I've got, Shock Suspense Stories. I've got volumes 1 through 3. I haven't got to those yet. Weird Fantasy 1 to 3. Incredible Science Fiction. I've got that one. I've got volumes 1 through 3 of Haunt of Fear, 1 through 4 of The Vault of Horror, and 1 through 3 of Tales from the Crypt as well. Not you might have all heard all that, because I was turned away from the camera. And I have, like, no merchandise either. Like, no EC Comics merchandise, which is, like, weird. How do you know you like something unless you have, like, tons of toys and things about it? But, like, there aren't toys and stuff of the Ghoul-Lunatics or anything like that. Though I would not hurt my feelings if NECA decided to actually make figures of the Crypt Keeper and the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch as well. Although I would be torn about which Crypt Keeper would I want. Would I want the original Crypt Keeper, who's kind of boring, or the TV Crypt Keeper, who is Awesome. Man, chat has died down from what it was 30 minutes ago. That's why I started talking religion. That's probably what did it. Everyone's like, this is not why I signed on to this. Man, this guy's live streams suck. Watched underwater, waterproof computer. Captain, you have big pointed teeth. One of those kind of bunnies. We've been at this about an hour. An hour in, and we got off topic right away instead of waiting till the end to get off topic. So, there was Tales from the like EC Comics merchandise by Retro A Go-Go, which I sold some of that in my store. They had like Christmas ornaments that could double as like mini busts. I didn't get around to selling those. I did sell some of the patches and things like that Retro A Go-Go had. But unfortunately, yeah, no action figures or anything like that, which I wish there are. And there's still a chance NECA's going to get around to doing Tales from the Crypt stuff. EC Comics stuff. Why not? You know what? Actually, what surprises me, Super 7 hasn't done it yet. They're doing like every like reaction figures of like everything under the freaking sun. So why have they not done EC Comics reaction figures? Excuse me. So then you could have like the Ghoul Lunatics, Crypt Keeper, Vault Keeper, Old Witch, and then different characters like through the comics. So like some of the different like Martians, aliens from Weird Science, some of the more memorable characters from Tales from the Crypt, that sort of stuff, would be like perfect. Let's not get too off topic. Goes off topic immediately. Yeah, I know. I try, but I almost wonder like, should I even bother having themed live streams anymore, or should I just have like just monthly live stream and we just talk about whatever? So I don't know. Bugs Bunny style, but voiced by Kristen Wiig. I would like both Crypt Keepers, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because, like, for retro sake, I would want the original Crypt Keeper to go with the other two Ghoul Lunatics. And because I like the retro stuff, the old school stuff, whatever. But, the TV Crypt Keeper is so awesome. And he's so distinctive, and he's so like the Vault Keeper and the Crypt Keeper are like virtually identical characters in the comic, but he's so different in the TV show that it's like, oh man, I'd probably end up getting them both, just put them on different shelves, I guess, keep them apart. Yeah, but I would definitely buy whichever versions they do. I would buy them. Like, I would love to get the 3 Ghoul Lunatics, whichever version they are. And that said, like, the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch were in the Tales from the Crypt Keeper cartoon. So there is precedent for the TV Crypt Keeper to be with those other 2 characters. So depends how they want to do them, I guess. But I would love for them to do them nonetheless. The Leap is offensive. It's your favorite movie. As long as you keep up the live streams, I'm happy. Well, thank you, Rex. Maybe if they release the TV Crypt Keeper alongside the Creep Show host the comics with the Vault Keeper. Yeah. Well, like, I mean, they could even do it, like, slightly different ways, right? Because they did do the Creep Show host figure. And I think he is one of the 8-inch figures, if I remember correctly. Because NECA, they have like the 7-inch Ultimates line, which are these guys, Universal Monsters. That's that. All those guys. Elvira, she's actually part of the 8-inch cloth figured line, which I think is what the Creep Show host is as well. And also the Misfits. They have their figure, which I've been tempted to get because the Misfits mascot is actually a character from an old movie, The Crimson Ghost. It's actually a cereal. The Crimson Ghost. So it's like, I've been tempted to get him, but he's also, first of all, I can't find him for cheap enough that I'd be willing to pay for him. But also, he's one of the 8-inch figures with the cloth outfits. So they could totally do, like, the 3 original versions of the of the Ghoul Lunatics with the original Crypt Keeper as Ultimates figures, and then do like the 8-inch TV Crypt Keeper figure, would be perfectly acceptable compromise. Or, alternately, I could see them doing the 3 Ghoul Lunatics as the 8-inch figures, and then the TV Crypt Keeper as an Ultimates figure. Because the Ghoul Lunatics, they have the cloth goods, they would have like the robes, whereas the TV Crypt Keeper would not. So it might be the other way around, actually. I worked at the studio that made the Tales from the Crypt Keeper cartoon. Oh, yeah, cool. Looks like it will go out of business. Tales of the Crypt Keeper, that was Nelvana, wasn't it? I think. Or did they just outsource that to your studio? Tales from the Crypt Keeper was made by Nelvana, yeah. I heard the Misfits were Christians except Danzig, who's the band to go worship Satan. Maybe, I don't know. Christians are sneaky, we're everywhere. You don't even realize it. I see some of the plush Kongs from the last unboxing live stream up on the corner shelf. Yes, they're up there. Where do they go? There, right up there. Right there. Right there. Yep. Yeah, and in fact, coming up, my next video is actually going to be a Kong shelf tour as well. Because I wanted to get that stuff from Bai before I did a shelf tour video, but it's going to be an ASMR sort of esque video of my Kong shelves. Misfits, they watched Angry Little Planet. Yeah, Nelvana. Yeah, not doing well. That's too bad. So, Captain, that means you're Canadian as well. Then, presumably. All production has been halted until 2026. Wow. That sucks. All I know about the Misfits is that they claim their songs are better. Correct. Gem and the Holograms versus the Misfits. If it's the real Misfits, that's even better. Especially since the real Misfits are like... Well, Jerry Only has done professional wrestling. So... Of the real Misfits, I do enjoy their stuff. I'm not like super into punk music, so I don't... it's sort of... I lose it on that side of things, but it gains it back on like the horror theme stuff, but... I worked at Hotel Transylvania, the series, Go Away Unicorn, Mr. King, and the Dog and Pony Show. I'm Canadian, yes, nice. I'm Canadian Bunny Girl, cool. Yeah, the Monster Kids Crypt here is in Calgary. Are you doing anything for Halloween? Any costume ideas? No, I'm not planning on anything specific. We're going to do another Halloween live stream, but that's about it. Nothing overly exciting, I don't think. So, I'm going to get everyone actually just to hold on for a minute. I have to take a brief intermission. So, hang on tight. I will be back shortly.
And now, before the next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now. A tasty treat will double your enjoyment of the show. For your convenience, we shall keep you informed of the remaining intermission time, 3 minutes before the next show starts.
Hi, you hungry? Looking for a tempting treat? Hold on till I absorb some heat. Some added tang might please you too. I'll slide into an oven-fresh bun, and I'm ready for your eating fun.
Why don't you try a juicy good hot dog? Mmm, delicious.
Attention, please. A $50 reward will be paid for information leading to the arrest and conviction of anyone caught stealing our speakers. If you accidentally pull a speaker loose, don't worry. Just turn it in. There is no charge, and we'll appreciate it.
The next show will start in 2 minutes.
Here's a food delicacy you'll surely enjoy. It's new, it's different. Hot Italian meatball sandwich, just like Mama made. You'll find them freshly made in a crisp Italian roll at our refreshment stand.
Hi, I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle. Packed in a jar for the freshest flavor. Served cold in a sack for you to savor. So dainty to eat, no muss, no fuss. An ideal snack for all of us. Crisp, tender, and tasty with a bit of spice. Buy one now. Taste how nice. Snack bar clerks will knock themselves silly, speeding your order for a real Chili Dilly.
The next show will start in 1 minute.
Hiya, hiya, hiya. They're shrimply delicious. Hiya, hiya, hiya. You'll go for that mouth-watering, taste-tempting, meaty shrimp mixture all wrapped up in a crispy noodle jacket. It's a treat you can't beat. So come on, join the folks that are getting fresh, crispy Flavo shrimp rolls now at the snack bar. They're shrimply delicious.
All right, we're back. Thanks for holding on there, everybody. Where were we here? Have I seen Ingagi from 1930? Yes, I have seen Ingagi. I did watch it since the last time that came up. It was something. I don't know. I actually didn't find it all that interesting. I know it was a big sensation of its time, but I found, like, as a documentary, it was pretty pedestrian. And then the whole, like, scandalous part about the tribeswomen meeting with gorillas and stuff was like 2 seconds. It was like 2 seconds of thing. It was like, oh my god, this is it? This is all? This whole thing is building up to this 2 seconds of, like, dark footage? Like, come on. So I didn't find Ingagi all that engaging. But like I said, I understand it was a sensation of its day, but didn't do it for me. Even as like lurid, the lurid appeal of it didn't do anything. Talk about Hotel Transylvania, the show there, cool. Where does he get this footage? Yeah, that's what YouTube's for. There's lots of repositories on YouTube of just like old drive-in movie, like intermission footage and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. There's the old intermission footage and the old advertising for spook shows are really fun as well. So there's like the genre of live performance that would be done in theaters when they were showing like horror movies, like the midnight movie sort of stuff, where you'd have like an on-stage horror host doing like magic tricks and whatnot. And sometimes if they were like movie theaters in Hollywood, they'd even get like Bela Lugosi, stuff like that, to show up. But yeah, and you'd have these like advertisements that they would show at the theaters to drum up business, like, hey, come check it out, because Dr. Horrible and his amazing talking monkey are going to be on stage here live next week at midnight. It was actually really fun. So Let's look this up on YouTube. I don't know what to be for Halloween this year. I have given that zero thought as to what I want to be for Halloween. I don't even know what I'm doing on Halloween, if anything. Maybe I should do that thing that I was thinking about for my birthday of renting out a movie theater, watching horror movies, seeing who wants to join. What happened to the tortoise who played Tortadillo? I hope he's doing well. I have no idea. We need like one of those sort of, was it VH1 behind the camera or whatever. The Bride of Monster Kid, I think you could do a pretty good Bride of Frankenstein with some hairspray. Should Cory be the monster? Maybe. I am tall. But I think I would also make a good Dr. Pretorius. So, horses live a very long time, don't worry. Yeah. Saw a bunch of tortoises the other day. The oldest of them was 38. It's like, oh, he's just a baby still. Tortoises are one of those pets that you better figure out who's going to have them when you die. Because he's going to outlive you. All of tortoises end up at zoos, too, because people buy them and not realize that, yeah, the tortoise is going to, like, for real, outlive you. But, yeah, I don't even know what day is Halloween even on this year. Other than doing a Halloween live stream, but yeah, it's on a Thursday night. Okay. Well, I don't know. There are 5 people left. Yeah, we weeded out everybody who actually came here to talk about comics. I noticed. There were a bunch of unfamiliar faces who were all here to talk about comics, and we went off in other directions. So, T-Rexes have similar lifespan to tortoises. They don't. If I remember correctly. Let me look that up. Lifespan of a T-Rex. 30. T-Rexes only live to about 30. So, Halloween, October 31st this year. Yes, it's every year. It's kind of its thing. Halloween doesn't move around. Although it is fun to mess people up when it's like, you know, in Canada, because our Thanksgiving is on a different day. It's like, when's your Christmas? Oh. There's Canadian Christmas and American Christmas, right? All right, well, geez, after that intermission, I think, yeah, that kind of killed everything. Who do we got now? Expose, Rex, and the Bride are here. You lost the captain somewhere. So, oh well. Maybe that'll be the sign to end it. This would be like the shortest live stream that I've done. Hour and a half. If we end it here. But I think we never really got onto the topic, so my apologies to anyone who is watching this afterwards. That all we've just been talking about is just random stuff all the time. Occasionally touching on EC Comics, but that's okay. This might be a sign to switch. Oh, Captain is here. Nice. I didn't see you on the list. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is the sign that the themed ones have run their course, and now it's time to just go just have normal ones. Not normal ones, but just non-themed, whatever, random discussion ones. So, and I guess interspersed with my Playing Godzilla battle line. So, I didn't do one this month because I got taken over by the Bai unboxing. But, yeah, who knows. What's your favorite costume you've ever seen? I've seen a lot of good costumes over my lifetime. One of the most memorable was one time at, it was actually a film event at the Uptown Theater. It's an old movie theater used to be here in Calgary. They had a Halloween event every year, and this one couple went as an ice cream cone and a giant tongue, which was pretty hilarious. There was another guy as a dancing flower, and he would just like do a little jig whenever like people clapped and sang to him. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen so many good costumes. I don't know which one's my favorite. Let us be on topic. Which EC story scared you the most? Ooh. I know which one has stuck with me as something horrifying, which is actually a weird science story. So you know the grandfather paradox, right? Where what if you go back in time and you meet your grandmother and you become your own grandfather? And how does that work? And is time linear? Is time, can you do paradoxes? Can you have alternate timelines? Yada, yada, yada. This whole grandfather paradox. Well, in this story, in Weird Science, it is not a grandfather paradox. It is a father paradox. This dude goes back in time and shags his own mom and becomes his own dad. It's, oh God, no, oh no, no, oh, and oh yeah, no, and it ends off the total question of like, what can I do? I don't know, what would you do? Like, I don't know, kill myself? Like, oh my God, oh, which now YouTube's gonna flag that as like, no, this live stream demonetized, controversial subjects. No, oh God, no, that one is stuck with me as like, that's horrifying. That is absolutely horrifying. That is more horrifying than any given story of zombies or alien invasions or anything else. I think you should do vaguer themes, so maybe comics and literature instead of EC. Yeah, might be it. Because like Universal Monsters is a pretty general theme, Kaiju is a pretty general theme, EC Comics is pretty specific. Even I did a Famous Monsters of Filmland live stream. It was just more, it was a bit about like that era and Monster Kid era and Forrest Ackerman and stuff like that, but it was really more just about monsters in general. In the news, when a baby had been kidnapped, Salvador Dali and his wife went as the baby and the kidnapper, respectively. Of course he would. My favorite EC comic story is the one where a bunch of people crash another planet, fight a T-Rex. I'm related to the guy who did the modeling, your cousins. Why is incest so common in time travel stories? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know why. I think it's sort of the ultimate, like... Well, I mean, the grandfather paradox is specifically a thought experiment about creating a temporal paradox. So, like, if you never went back in time, then you wouldn't have created the conditions for you to go back in time. So, but how did that happen then? Because if you were never born, then you couldn't have gone back in time to become your own grandfather and give birth to you to go back in time to do that. So it's like this time loop, which is just solved by linear time. Like, yeah, you always did that. That's just linear time. Okay, deal. But I think it's just because it's the ultimate sort of like changing the past kind of thing, and it has that kind of like gross Freudian kind of vibe to it. So it kind of makes people the most interesting thing. Because it's like, otherwise you go back in time and you go to somewhere else entirely and talk to completely different people and change nothing. Okay, cool. So, where's the story in that? We spent most of the Famous Monsters live stream talking about model kits, yeah. Right, because, well, you had the Aurora and Famous Monsters connection, right? Those model kits. There's my Forgotten Prisoner of Castlemare right there. So. But between that EC story and Back to the Future, too many time travelers are faced with incest. Yeah. Ew. Yeah. I think it's also because, like, a lot of the stories revolve around, like, going back to change your own history. And, like, so you end up meeting your parents or grandparents or whatever. And as a consequence, shenanigans happen. It's also, well, in Back to the Future, it's more of a comedy scenario, too, right? Like, oh no, my mom's coming on to me, gross, get her off me. And that time, I almost burned down my house. I think I'm obsessed with gorillas. Well, that's fine. Gorillas are pretty cool. It was like World Gorilla Day the other day or something, I think. There's an EC comic homage in Back to the Future. Oh yeah. It's been so long since I've seen Back to the Future that I don't even remember most of it. Like most films, I like either have gorillas or gorilla-adjacent animals. That is fine. Gorillas are cool. I mean, I used to work at a zoo, so I worked with gorillas. They're pretty cool. They're not like my favorite animals or anything. Like I've mentioned this before with my Kong collection. It's not because I like gorillas especially. It's because I like the movie. The movie is awesome, and King Kong Escapes is an awesome movie as well. Whereas like gorillas themselves, like they're okay. They're not my favorite animal. I love Bela Lugosi meets a broken gorilla. Yeah, I know. I owe you still a Bela Lugosi meets a broken gorilla video. Murray dresses up like the alien on the cover of a weird science knockoff. Cool. Cool. Monkey. Yes. So you're more a fan of Optimus Primal then? Well, it's at 8:32, hour and a half. We've been at this. Might wrap it up soon, anyways. It's kind of dropping off. Still waiting for the Lost 1925 video. Oh yes, believe me, I know. I've been so busy. That's why even my latest RKO video was delayed by like 2 months, because I've just been so busy with tour guiding and stuff. But my last tour guiding dates are this weekend. So after that, I'm like in the wide clear open, so I might be able to actually get some videos up and going and running and stuff like that. So Lost World 1925 is definitely high on my list of ones to do. I also want to do... I still got the RKO one. The next RKO one is Val Lewton movies. I want to do one on the black actors in King Kong. Just out of personal interest. Don't know when that'll happen. I want to do one on the connection with King Kong and American Thanksgiving. That'll be in November. So, yeah, The Lost World 1925 is turning 100 next year. Maybe I'll save it for that. Maybe I'll do a big anniversary video for that one. Me and everybody else on the planet. But unlike everybody else doing a video about it, I am actually a certified expert on The Lost World. So, I have a published author about The Lost World. So, yeah. But yeah, actually, no, okay. Thank you. Yes, that'll be the plan, is next year. You can wait a few months, right? I'll do a big whiz-bang thing about, or maybe even a series about it. So there's so much about that movie that can be talked about, and so much that I have amassed about that movie as well. My own materials and things I've written and studied and researched and whatnot. So we'll see. And actually, yeah, that would be good because, most people, when they talk about the Lost World, if you watch most videos about the Lost World, they talk about it like it's a footnote on the way to something else. Like, the Lost World is a preamble to King Kong. The Lost World is a preamble to Godzilla. Whereas The Lost World, in its own right, I think is a good movie. So, home video collection, when you had your store, did you get the Flickr Alley Blu-ray of Lost World? I have not got the Flickr Alley Blu-ray of Lost World. I just haven't got around to it. Which is fine. I don't even know if they've changed anything from the image restoration or not. So, I went to the T-Rex in Lost World. Actually, he's played by my grandpa, who's also in King Kong. However, there is no T-Rex in the Lost World. It's Allosaurus in the Lost World Rex. So somebody was fibbing in your family there. The Lost World, well, it depends. The book Lost World is basically Sussex. It's prehistoric Sussex, rendered as this plateau in South America. But the movie version, because it was made in the United States, it's actually prehistoric Utah, Wyoming. So it's Jurassic Dinosaur National Monument is sort of the inspiration behind the Lost World fauna in the movie. So have the Flicker Alley Blu-ray, and it's great. It's longer in runtime. It looks fairly nice. Cool. Yeah, he did Aloe Face. We're proud. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose I should get the Flicker Alley Blu-ray at some point. Because yeah, I've got the old LumaVision version, which is the hour-long Kodak version, and I've got the Black Hawk Films image release from like the early 2000s. And I had at one time the who did that? It was the restoration that was partially paid for by Hugh Hefner. It came out as a bonus disc with the 1960 version of The Lost World, and it was terrible. It was such a disappointing restoration because it was missing footage that is known to be in The Lost World. They took it out because it wasn't in the shooting script. I'm like, what? No. It was such a bad version of it that even with the weaknesses in the image disc, image restoration, still better than that George Eastman House restoration. Yeah. So, and I thought I read that the Flicker Alley one is just the Black Hawk Films restoration again. So, I don't know. But worth looking into, I suppose. Add it to my list of things to buy. Lord knows I don't have enough other things I want to buy. Also have the Flicker Alley version of Most Dangerous Game and Gal the Headhunter Blu-ray. I just watched Gal the Headhunter the other day, actually. It was okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, Flicker Alley, if I had $1 bajillion, there's a lot of Flicker Alley stuff I'd like to buy. They also have The Last Warning and the Man Who Laughs as well. So I'm trying to get the 60s version. Oh, where'd they go? Trying to get the 60s version on DVD, but I can only find it in Region 2. That's weird, because it did come out in Region 1 a million years ago. In fact, I'm going to just check. I mean, I assume you're Region 1, Rex. I should have checked eBay.com. Lost World 1960 Region 1. Yeah, there's copies all over eBay. So I've got a copy right here. Irwin Allen, $14 Canadian. So there you go. Import NTSC Region 0. What? Hold on a second, let me double check that. Color NTSC, all region. You can get it. It's on eBay. There you go. Right, San Francisco. There are any Val Lewton films by Flicker Alley. Hey, Creature, welcome. We're actually just probably gonna wrap this up soon. I don't think any Val Lewton films were put up by Flicker Alley, because the Val Lewton films are all part of the RKO catalog, which are distributed by Warner. But I think Kino's been putting them out on Blu-ray. Let me double check that. Val Lewton Films Blu-ray. No, continue without supporting. Thank you. I feel like I've seen Val Lewton films coming out on Blu-ray by it's like Kino or Shout or something like that. but that's because a lot of those specialty Blu-rays and things have been sort of relegated to Criterion. Criterion's doing them. Yeah, like third-party companies like that. Yeah, Criterion is putting out Val Lewton films on Blu-ray. So there we go. Is there an ideal version of The Lost World? Like if I were to do one? Like make my own version? I don't know. I am a firm believer of sticking as close to the book as possible. The only reason I love the 25 version as much as I do is because it's this cool old silent movie. And it is it's such a fascinating point in history when it was made. Yeah, like Criterion, like Wallet more, yeah, no kidding. So, and the 1925 version has a lot of its own things going for it. As a movie of its own, as kind of like separate from the book. And I don't think there really have been any other good versions of The Lost World. Like the first episode of the 2-part BBC one was okay. But any other version is like pretty bad. So, meh. If I were to make one, I would just make it as close as I could to the book, really. And the only thing I would feel like I would need to change is to highlight the themes of sort of colonialism and stuff a bit more, right? Because it's touched on in the book when they exterminate the ape people about how kind of horrific this is, but it's sort of like a necessary part in the chain of evolution to civilization, kind of bullshit like that. I would probably highlight more how horrific it was. But otherwise, I'd want to hew as close to the book as possible, because the book is amazing. So why not just film the book? Weather's rough where I'm at. Oh yeah. Are you like? I was like, was or is there going to be a hurricane in Florida? I don't know if you caught in that or not. What kind of rough weather? Like Frankenstein weather? If I were to make a version of Lost World, I'd add more dinosaurs and some Serposauruses to the mix. I'd also have a bunch of dinosaurs rampaging in London, just a Pteranodon. Yeah. Colonialism, good or bad? Bad. I mean, it's easy for me to say because, I live in a country that was founded by colonialism. And we just have to live with that. So, and I think so-called decolonization is mostly a joke. Just because it's kind of like throwing bones back at when it was like, well, we're not going to like leave your country, but here's this bone, right? And that's the impression that most indigenous people have told me, like what they think about it as well, is like, this is a joke. But I mean, we do have to sort of reconcile with the history of colonization, and it's not good to be on the victim side of it. Like it sucks, obviously. Would the dinos colonizing us, privatized bunnies, be good for us ultimately? I don't know. Would it? Now we're getting into politics. Already broke the rule. But the Mambas went hard with gentrification. I know a white girl told me once she is decolonizing her mind at college. I have no idea what that means. Yeah, it doesn't mean shit all. Yeah, it's... I have opinions about it. I think it's mostly a marketing thing. But whatever. Again, that would be involved getting into politics. Imagine my version starting out as classic pulp adventure stories like Indiana Jones to a harsh reality of colonization. Yeah. That'd be a good one. If you could distill into different characters different aspects of things, right? So you can make like one of the characters sort of like probably Challenger would be like the whole like oh, this is part of evolution and the road to civilization and that whole idea. Roxton himself is based on an anti-slavery. He was got activist, like he was full on like guerrilla warrior against slavery. Roger Casement. So you could write sort of the horror of that, put that into the mouth of Roxton. But Ned Malone would also be a good vantage point for that as well, to be horrified by what is going on and to see the ape people as people, right, as opposed to like just apes. Well, now we're getting spicy here, so well, if we're gonna get this spicy, I might as well. Hour 45 in. Yeah, this live stream was insane. This did not go where thought this was gonna go. So let's we'll call it a night here, which means, of course, oh wait, where's that coming from? I didn't put in the next live stream thing. Okay, I messed that up. So the next live stream is going to be a Halloween live stream again, the Halloween Haunt live stream. So hooray for that. So that one is no specific theme. That is just, it's Halloween and hooray and stuff, and wear your costumes, and we'll hang out and enjoy spookiness. And then my next video coming up on Monday is going to be a shelf tour of my con collection. So a lot of close-ups of this stuff back here, so y'all can see that. And then somewhere down the line, towards the end of the month, again, is going to be the next RKO video on Val Lewton movies. So, hooray! There we go. That's the next lineup of videos. I forgot to set all that up, so I apologize for that. So there we go, yeah. And probably in there as well, I will do another live stream of just playing Godzilla Battle Line, because why the hell not? It sounds like fun. Always seems to be fun. And thank you to the usual suspects here for joining us, and Captain. Nice to meet you. And hopefully we'll see y'all again. And there we go. Thanks for coming out here tonight.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.